Okay, so we're going to start section 13.3, which is finding trig functions of any angle. We're going to do most of this section, and it's going to be no calc. Okay, so no calculator for this kind of stuff. And one of the first things that we're going to do is we're basically going to use SOHCAHTOA, but there are triangles that you've seen in your geometry courses. We have our 30, 60, 90. And we have our 45, 45, 90, and we're going to use these special angle measurements to do or to find trig values of special angles without a calculator. So I'm going to draw 30, 60, 90, and just a little bit of a refresher. Let's say this one's 30 and this one's 60. The side across from the hypotenuse is 2. The side across from the 30 is 1. And the side across from 60 is not root 30, is root 3. Okay? So it always goes 1, root 3, and 2. Now, one of the things that I remember, or your basic geometry properties, is, this is the largest angle, so the largest side is across from it. And so this is the smallest angle, and so the smallest side length is across from that. Okay, so if I wanted to work with a 45, 45, 90, we'll just get a different triangle here. Here's our 90, and the side ratios were 1, 1, side lengths were 1, 1, root 2. So 1, 1, root 2, and this guy's an isosceles triangle. So here's our 45, and here's our 45. So knowing these ratios is what you need to have in order to solve these without a calculator. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get into our first, and we're going to find the exact value of sine, cosine, and tangent of 315 degrees. So perspective is everything. So drawing a picture is important. This is 0, this is 90, this is 180, and this is 270. Okay, so here's what we're going to do here. We're going to use the idea of a reference angle to help us solve this triangle. Okay, so if I draw my rotation, 315 is about right here. And so now, let's say this is where, the terminal ray is of the angle that's been created by a 315 degree rotation. Well, in order to find information, what we talked about in a previous video is we want to go ahead and draw a triangle here. We're going to create a right triangle, and that can tell me where this point is in space. And we're just going to find trig values of this angle rotation. And so if this guy is 315 degrees, that means the reference angle is 45 degrees. So we're going to use the reference angle to actually solve the information about the triangle. So we know that this is a 45 degree angle, so that makes this 45, and so now it's a 45, 45, 90. This is root 2, because that's what the hypotenuse is. This is 1, and the one thing you have to be careful with, it's 1, but because we're now in a quadrant system, this is a negative value. And so now, after I've labeled my triangle, what I'm going to go ahead and do is find sine, cosine, and tangent of this triangle. So sine of the angle measurement, and the angle that we're always going to be looking at is the one that's attached to the origin. And notice the other thing is I drew the altitude to the x-axis, always to the x-axis. Okay? And so sine is opposite over hypotenuse, and we have to rationalize this. So we would rationalize it, and we get negative root 2 over 2, and that's sine. We take cosine, and we'd get adjacent over hypotenuse. It's the same as sine, but it's positive. And so I'm just going to kind of cheat here real quick. I know it's going to be root 2 over 2, but positive. And then tangent of theta is going to equal opposite over adjacent, which is negative 1 over 1, and that's equal to negative 1. So these are the three trig values of this angle measurement, and and we find the trig values of 315 by using this triangle that we've drawn in the fourth quadrant. We'll do more examples, and I'll kind of show some tricks, and there's a little bit of memorization too to make this go a little bit quicker. You can always draw a picture, and you can always label the triangle, but if you commit certain little things to memory, it's going to make life a lot easier, and you can cruise through all these types of problems.